All right. Good evening, everyone. Hopefully you're hearing me and seeing me. I typed very quickly into the chat that as this lecture is happening, I can't see the chat, so it does no good to type anything in there. At the end of the lecture, I'll take questions. I'll give everybody an opportunity to speak and ask whatever you want. So that's it. Tonight, what we're going to talk about is some course navigation and um, deliverable number 1 to start with. But before I go that far, can you hear me and see me on the video?
I can hear you and see you,
Great.
but it says chat is not available.
Okay. That's probably, I guess, because I have it turned off. So
Okay.
thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That said, here we go. So some basic things about CBE courses, because a lot of times I have students who have never taken a course like this. So the course shell. Um, One thing about our CBE courses here at Rasmussen is that um, there's a countdown timer up here in the upper left-hand corner. You have 73 days and 5 hours to do 11, which works out to 11 weeks, to do 7 deliverables, 7 assignments, right? Some of them are easy. Some of them are different than what you're used to. They all build on one another from start to finish so that as you're working forward and you do 1 through 6, you have the information you need, and at the very least, you have the sources you need to complete the final course project, which is deliverable number 7, um, and is more detailed than the others, and that's because it consists of all the others. So, um, 73 days, 5 hours, 11 weeks. Um, the last day of the class is a Friday. I'm not allowed to accept anything after midnight on Friday. That Friday, it's documented in our calendar. I believe it's May 20th. Um, it shows specifically what that date is. That's the only due date that you'll ever see in a CBE course, is the very last day of the term. But we literally are not allowed to accept work even 1 minute after midnight. So keep that in mind. That said, I post a lot of announcements. I've got some in here all the way, they're built out through week 7. Uh, so there are plenty of things to sink your teeth into. There's extra information in the announcements. For example, during week 4, I provide and it's provided elsewhere in the course, so you don't have to wait till week 4, a sample template of the SWOT analysis, I believe, is no, I'm sorry, the balanced scorecard assignment. There's a sample balanced scorecard. So you know kind of what goes in those things. There's a sample SWOT analysis, a sample gap analysis. If you've never done these things, they make it much easier. And there are some videos posted in the announcements from week to week like that, by order. So deliverable 1, week 1, deliverable 2, week 2, etc. You'll see those videos. If you're working on deliverable 4, the announcements that are going to pop in week 4 will provide some extra guidance for you. Okay. This is not a traditional online course. So there are no discussion boards rather. I'm kind of tongue tied tonight, with one exception. And it's this one. There's a simple course chat. If you once you click it on up there and it pops up, click on that paragraph of instructions, and this one has my personal welcome message. That's it. I don't check this thing throughout the term. It's not necessary. You don't have to go in like in a traditional online course and introduce yourself or anything like that. It's just there if you want to engage with your classmates. And that's in the getting started area as well. You can click in there, you can click in the discussions. So I've been teaching this course since its inception, and which is many years. And in the beginning, I recognized very quickly that some people could not find things in the course. And what I thought was easy, what other people thought was easy, some found to be very difficult. So in the content section, there's a folder titled Where Are the? Contains course materials that you need to be successful in this course. If you find yourself with a question and you simply can't figure out where something is or what something is, check this folder first before you do anything. These are all, I believe all are short little videos that I made. Like, when I say short, a minute, 30 seconds, minute and 30 seconds, sometimes less. Where are the recordings? Like, where's the recording for, speaking of that, okay, where are the recordings for this lecture going to be? Give it a click, play the little video. It'll tell you how to find them in MS Teams, because they're always going to be on Teams. And they'll be posted by, week 1, live session 1, week 1, live session 2, week 2, live session 1, etc., as we go through the term. One of the caveats to this particular course is that you have to find a publicly traded company, and you have to use that same publicly traded company for all 7 deliverables. So a lot of times that is not so easy. I mean, sometimes we immediately recognize that big companies, General Motors, General Electric, IBM, Ford, uh, many of them, right? There are many, many of them that are, any company that is publicly traded on the stock market is open for use. My strong suggestion is that you use a Fortune 100 company, not a Fortune 500. Use a Fortune 100, because you're going to need to be able to go onto the internet and find their corporate values, their strategies, their overall strategies, goals, objectives. You're going to need to be able to find those things. And for those big Fortune 100 companies, those things exist online in one particular place. Actually, okay, so if you give that a click, again, another video. You have to choose that real publicly traded company. This is not something you make up. Watch this video first. It will help you to find the company that you want to use. It, it never fails. People want to do their own company, or a company that they appreciate so very much, and those companies are not publicly traded. Unfortunately, can't use that for the class. When you watch that video for how to find a publicly traded company, it will also show you how to find that one website that we're allowed to use, because this course is a no internet sources course, except for the organization that you're using. If you're using IBM, you can use IBM's website and anything found on their website. You can use anything found in their annual report, but you're not allowed to use anything else found on the internet. Graduate students use the university's library. All of the sources have been vetted. You can find all kinds of information on all these publicly traded companies in there. There are some times, and as we talk about these deliverables over the next few days, you're going to see that there will be times where, okay, that information is simply not published, and in any way, shape, or form, no matter what company you use. Those things you're allowed to make up. Um, and you'll need that when we're doing, say, the gap analysis. identify a number of employees, for example, that you have currently and increase it by 10. Okay, so in the first block on the left, you might have 50. In the block on the right, 60. So the gap is that 10 employee difference between that 50 and 60. Those are the kind of things that you're going to make up because we have no way of finding that information. And even if you were to call the company or write to the company, they're never going to tell you that kind of minute detail. So there will be some things that need to be made up, and they're very, very few. That video will tell you how to find that publicly traded company. Where are the instructions for the deliverables? Video. We're going to go through that shortly, and you're going to see, and they're all the same where the instructions are. The instructions mean a great deal, of course, but what you are going to be graded on specifically is the rubric materials, the actual criterion of the rubrics. And I'm going to show you where those rubrics are. So it is never a good practice to read the instructions and do the assignment. You will always miss something because it almost never fails that when the course designers were building these courses, they did not match the rubrics in some, and this is rare, but it does happen, in some places where the rubric requires something that wasn't in the instructions at all. So always follow the rubrics because that is what you're going to be graded on. So I guess, where are the rubrics? How do you find them? Watch this video, and it is incredibly short if I'm not mistaken. Though I am going to show you that tonight. Where's the textbook? There is a textbook. It's all online. It's not something you have to go out and buy or hunt down. There are links in for each module, each learning module, each assignment that say, click here to read chapter 3 in the Aquinas book. Some people sometimes have trouble finding this article. So where is the aligning people strategies with customer value? The link was broken. We fixed it. It seems to break every time. You should be able to click here, and that will take you to the university's online library, and you can find the article at that link. First thing you have to do before anything else unlocks for your viewing pleasure and working through is the learning plan. I don't think I can open it, but oh, yes, I can. So it's one question, right? Which feature of competency-based education, CBE courses, right, like this one, which feature of that kind of learning will help you to be successful? The flexible deadlines, right? I already said there are none. Your ability to move faster or slower through your learning. I'm teaching 2 CBE courses right now, same day, same start time as this one. Someone in that other course has already completed 4 of the 7 deliverables. Deadlines, right? You can move as fast or as slow as you want. Career focused skills that prepare you for the workplace, real world assignments. Once you answer these things, that's it. Everything will unlock and you'll be able to move forward. Without clicking on that, sometimes people freak out and panic and start, oh my gosh, I've never done a learning plan before. I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to write this. Do I have to put it in APA format? I'm like, no, give it a click. You're going to see very quickly that you're freaking out over nothing. I add this one out here, how to find the publicly traded company in the mainstream, just so that it's easy for people to find. There are links all over the course to our live sessions. The best one is in the main, I should be able to, yeah. At the bottom of the menu, right here, give that a click, it'll take you right in. Wednesday, give it a click, it'll take you right in. If you don't want to do that, you can click here. There are links in the calendar. There are links in the announcements every week. So, I guess I didn't even saying them out loud like that. I didn't realize there were so many, but there really is. There's like 6 or 8 different locations from week to week, so you can always find it. Live classroom assignments. These are, I think I can open this one. These are 3 questions long. Did you attend or did you view the lecture, the recording for this? Right? Yes or no? It has to be yes, or you don't get credit for it. Right? You got to get credit for these live classroom 3 question quizzes to pass the course. There's 6 of them. You have to, and there's one for each of the first 6 weeks of our class. So you either attended or you watched the video. Yes. Do you have any questions? When I read this, if you have big questions about this topic or whatever from week to week, or the live session, put them here and I'll answer them when I grade your work. This one throws at everybody. Question 3, how do you think this competency may connect to the others in this course? This has nothing to do with the topic of the lecture. It has everything to do with the competency. There are 6 competencies for this course, right? These are the learning objectives for this course. There are learning objectives for each of the deliverables. So deliverable 1 is related to competency 1. So how does your first competency for your first assignment relate to the competencies for the rest of the course? And they're listed in the syllabus, the competencies. 9 out of 10 people, in fact, no, 10 out of 10 people always say, well, this lecture material is related to the other lectures because they all build on one another. Well, that's not what I'm looking for. How does the competency related to deliverable 1 and week 1 relate to the competency, the other 5 competencies? Each one of these lectures on day 1, like Tuesdays, I'm going to give a code word that you need to get credit for this. You can answer these other 3 questions. If you leave the code word out, you get a 0. You have to provide the code word. Where do you provide that code word, you may ask? Down here under additional content. Students can add text, images, and files here. So for this week, for this lecture, and week 1, the code word you need is deliverable. It's that simple. The code word for this lecture is deliverable. So when you complete this assignment and in this additional content area, type the word deliverable. That's what you need to get credit for that. And of course, all the course project assignments are in here. The deliverables, the assignments 1 through 7. I'm gonna come back to this because I want to show you some other things before we go in. I've taken the guesswork out of this for you. Course project assignment templates. There is a deliverable template, or template rather, for each of the deliverables. Click on it, download it, use it to do your assignments. The first one is a PowerPoint. So I put it together. It's black and white. I'm not going to accept a black and white PowerPoint, but when you use that template, it shows you what is required on each slide. All you got to do is fill in the blanks and then make it pretty. To add some color to it, add some pictures to it, add some animation to it, whatever you want to do. Don't be afraid to make that PowerPoint pop, right? And you can use all kinds of pictures, and anything to sweeten that from the internet is acceptable. Again, templates. These are Word documents. All the remaining are Word documents. The information that you're going to use and put into your PowerPoint for deliverable 1, you're going to need that information for deliverable 7, but you're going to end up writing it in the Word format in that Deliverable 7 template. Okay. Course project assignments, detailed video instructions. These live sessions are going to be until all 7 deliverables are covered. That's what each live session is going to be about. This one's about 1. Tomorrow is going to be about 2. Next week, 3 and 4. The week after, 5 and 6. The week after, 7. And from that point on, I'll be giving lectures about human resources strategy materials, right? Things that you need to know and learn that are directly relevant to HR strategic management. But you get stuck on those things. You need help with the video, with the deliverables. You can click in here, and all of these videos for there, of course, there are 7 detailed instructions for each of those deliverables. There's also this video in here. My very strong recommendation is that you watch this video before you do anything else in this course, especially before you do any of the assignments. Watch this video. It talks about graduate level work, what kind of work product graduate students like you folks are expected to produce. It's clinical, it's scholarly, it's largely error-free. It is more often than the primary rule is it's always written in past tense and always written in third person. This class, you really can't do that because you're being asked to assume each deliverable, you're being asked to assume a role. You're the HR manager of Bob's Left-Handed Smoke Shifters. The CEO has called you in and asked you to do X, Y, and Z. So you're writing from that person's perspective and not a third person past tense, right? It should all, yeah, tense will vary, but you're going to have to write in first person to complete these assignments. So watch that one first. That will help you to get through graduate level work, not just in this course, but in others. And then there are learning modules. Each of the learning modules have material that are it's so helpful. There's so much good information in here, and most people skip these things and don't do it. They just do the assignments and listen to the lectures most of the time and press on. If that's you and you decide you're not going to take advantage of this learning opportunity, my strong suggestion is that you at the very least come in and look for these multimedia instructions. These are short videos that specifically address the topic of the module. And for example, module 1 is a lot about differentiation and how it's related to competition and organizational success. There's a video in here about that. This module 1 is also related to major organizational change and models for major organizational change, specifically the John Kotter 8-step model. But you're going to be asked to touch on Lewin's model and Adkar's model. There's video instruction and information about Kotter and all of that. The textbook, here it is, right? HR Strategy Chapter 3. Click that, and there's helpful information in there that'll help you with that deliverable, with Deliverable 1. There are other links, things that will help you get through. Kotter's model, there's video. Kotter's model is all over the web, all over YouTube. And John Kotter himself has obviously a website, but sometimes you got to pay for things on there. If you go to YouTube, he'll talk to you about at least 6 of his 8 steps. You might be able to find, well, I know you can find other videos, not necessarily by Dr. Cotter, but by other people who have posted about his model. There's a lot of information on YouTube about Cotter's 8-step model. Okay, so there's one of those for each week of the class that you're going to be graded on. Those are weeks 1 through 6, right? There are 6 deliverables. There are 6 live lecture sessions that you have to complete. That's it. That's all you're going to be graded on. There are knowledge diagnosis, little quizzes. Those are all self-checks. You're not going to be graded on any of that. Okay, so I think that's all I wanted to talk about with course navigation. So that said, we're going to go into the course project assignments. We're going to go through in detail deliverable number 1. So that competency thing that I was talking about for this week, there it is right at the top. It's at the top for every single one of these, but all of them are listed in the syllabus. So how does this competency relate to the others that are listed in the syllabus? So for deliverable 1, by the end of this deliverable, once you do it and read all the stuff and attend all the lectures for the live sessions, you should be able to analyze the impact of organizational practices on the implementation of HR decisions. What kind of organizational practices? Major organizational change. How do we go about that? Differentiation, whether it product differentiation, right? And how do those things affect competition, et cetera? Those practices. How do we choose what our main differentiator is? All right, so the student success criteria. Very quickly before I go on, broadly, everything, here's the instructions for everyone. They're all right down the middle. And for this one, I did have some input in building this one, so I've taken a lot of guesswork out of it. What you're going to be graded on is over here, the rubric, and we'll click on that when we get to it and show you. But every deliverable, that's where the rubric is. Always look at that rubric, not just these instructions. Okay, so every week, every deliverable, the student success criteria is the grading rubric. Okay. Here's your scenario for this one. You are the director of organizational development at a publicly traded organization of your choice. Remember, you're going to use the same publicly traded organization for all 7 deliverables. So this organization is known for its forward-thinking approach and commitment to innovation. The company has recently undergone a major strategic shift, including a significant restructuring of departments and processes. As part of this transformation, the CEO has charged you with creating a PowerPoint presentation that she is going to present to all managers across the organization that outlines the best way to navigate and implement this and any future major organizational changes at this company. So you have to keep in mind, you're building this for someone else to present. You will not even be there to provide backup if the CEO needs it. So your speaker notes for every slide must be detailed, dramatically detailed. That's where you're going to provide APA citations of sources. All your information is going to be in those speaker notes at the bottom of each slide. So the CEO informed you that the organization is embarking on a journey of transformation. The changes are significant and they will impact every aspect of the organization. She needs your expertise as the director of organizational development to ensure that managers are fully equipped to lead their teams through this transition. Your PowerPoint must provide clear guidance on how to navigate and implement major organizational changes effectively and efficiently using a specific change model, Cotter. As you leave her office, you start thinking, pondering the essential elements of your presentation. Recalling your college days, you remember Dr. John Cotter's 8-step model, widely, widely regarded as the benchmark for implementing significant organizational change. However, you also recognize and acknowledge the existence of alternative models and the impact change has on decisions concerning organizational practices. Those other models, lesser models, Lewin, ADKAR, and there are others. So instructions: conduct research in the university's online library and on the internet, and prepare a Microsoft PowerPoint with a minimum of 13 slides using APA format. There really is no APA format for slides. The APA format, how we're meaning it here, is a title slide, a references slide, and citations of your sources that appear on your references slide in the speaker notes. Anything that appears on your references slide must appear in your speaker notes with an in-text citation of that source. Okay, so anytime you're building a PowerPoint for any course, and this is just a piece of information for other courses where you have to build these things, every bullet point in the instructions should equate to a slide. The meat and potatoes of them, right? It should equate to a slide individually. So in here, item number 1, your slide count. You have to have a minimum of 13 slides, one to cover each of the substantive bullet points. Number 2, this presentation will be moderately creative in appearance, but don't forget, your CEO is presenting this to management. So it has to be professional and creative at the same time. It needs to be professional and creative, meaning we're not going to put comedic clips. We're not going to put, no clips from The Office, no clips from Beavis and Butthead, no clips from any of that kind of stuff. No quotes from people in antiquity, right? We're not going to quote Socrates. We're not going to quote Marcus Aurelius. We're not going to quote Steve Jobs. We're going to not quote Bill Gates. We're going to leave all of that out. This is a clinical, scholarly project that has to be cosmetically appealing and keep your CEO's audience awake while she presents this stuff. So we're not going to go too far afield, but it is going to be aesthetically pleasing and interesting. So moderately creative is how that ends. And slide or number 3 of the instructions, each slide will be in bullet format or short sentences. No paragraphs. No paragraphs. Each slide will contain speaker notes, concisely written and organized at the graduate level. 300 to 500 words. My strong suggestion is if you don't have 500 words, you don't have enough information for that slide. But I'm not counting them. 300 to 500. Include APA formatted in-text citations of your scholarly sources. Then those are the rules for your speaker notes. So that brings us to your first slide. Note the bullet points. Slide 1 is your title slide. Remember, the CEO is presenting this. You're just building this thing. So it should say something about Cotter's model and a presentation by your CEO's name. That can be your own name, as long as it says CEO Jim Jones, right? Whatever as long as it says that on the title slide. What is it? What is this presentation about? It's about Cotter's 8-step model. It vaguely touches, or it briefly touches on a couple other models, etc. But remember, this is not your presentation. It is someone else's. So you need to make sure that they're credited and you're not. Sadly, that's how things go in business anyway. Slide 2 is the introductory slide, and it should include discuss the various models for major organizational change. Discuss Lewin, discuss ADKAR, discuss Cotter. So that slide could be as simple as 3 bullet points that say Lewin's model for org change, ADKAR's model for org change, Cotter's 8-step model for org change. And then in the speaker notes, that's where the meat and potatoes is going to be that 300 to 500 word paragraph of information that contains citations of your sources that are provided in APA format. So there's 2. Discuss those models, discuss in the speaker notes why following a change model for implementing significant org change is important, specifically to decisions concerning org practices. State why you settled on Cotter's model, why it's superior to all others. And it is. The next slide is a slide. This is going to be slide number 3, a slide discussing step 1. Cotter step 1 is create a sense of urgency for the organizational change. If your business is about to go bankrupt, you need to communicate that to your employees that this is urgent. We need to make this change or no one's going to have a job next month. We're going to shutter our doors. We're going to close the place up. That'll be the end of it. Create a sense of urgency. The next slide, step 2. Cotter calls a team for change a guiding coalition. So what is that? And he has a formula for that guiding coalition. Who do we pick to be on that team as the administrators that are pushing this, right? We, of course, want to involve at least one person from every division, every unit, and we want to include supervisors, but Cotter puts percentages to that. So that you'll need to find that. That's in the course material. Okay, so who is going to be on that coalition? What's it look like? And 3 or 4 bullets on the main slide, and then 300 to 500 words with citations of sources in the speaker notes. The next slide is step 3, create a vision for the change. We're not talking about a vision for the organization, vision for this change. If this change is successful, what does the future look like? Vision is always where we're going. Vision is always about the future. Mission is always how we're going to get there. So this change is how we're going to get to our vision for the organization. But what is our vision for this change effort? We want it to be successful. We want to bring everybody in. We want employees to take ownership and have voice and feel involved in this. So communicate is the next one. The next slide, step 4, communicate that vision. How are you going to communicate that vision, right? Are you going to put it out? You're going to write it down and post it on a bulletin board somewhere? You're going to email it? You're going to hold meetings? How do you intend to communicate the vision for this change? Step 5, next slide, empower broad-based action. Enable and empower your employees. Enable them and empower them to take broad-based action. They have to have the authority to get the job done. People are going to resist. As you'll see when you start to look at Cotter's stuff, Cotter has a character in a fable that he uses to explain his steps called No Penguin. That No Penguin is the person at your agency that goes, no, we can't do this because we've always done it this way. We should continue to, why change it if it ain't broke? Well, because it is broke. Something is broke. So we are changing it for a reason. In organizational management, in strategic management, there is no such thing as change for change's sake. Anytime an organization makes a change, employees will talk around the water cooler about, oh, this is just change for change's sake. We don't need this. It is absolutely not ever. Not ever. There is always a reason for a change, even if it's a simple change. Someone somewhere in that organization has a reason to make that change. It is definitely never change for change's sake. That is an absolute myth, but it's a widely believed myth. So empower your people and enable them and give them the tools they need to get the job done and get out of their way. The next slide, step 6, generate short-term wins. How are you going to um, build short-term wins into your change plan? We need to be able to identify those. You know, if someone were to ask you what does success look like? Well, okay, success is the overall completion of the change and implementation of the change without any hiccups. But in between there, we hit these benchmarks. Here, we we communicated with everyone about urgency, and we created the urgency for the change, and we measured it and evaluated that, and everybody understands now. So that's a short-term win. We celebrate those short-term wins as we go, and all of those short-term wins equate to a overall win for the major change. Consolidate gains and produce more change. So this is more looking at once we put this in place and we're winning uh, in certain areas and we're not closing our doors, we're not shuttering our business. What else needs to be changed? What else can we do? How can we tweak this change? Maybe things need to be fine-tuned once we get it into place. Next slide, step 8, anchor your new approaches in the org culture. So whatever happens, everything needs to be anchored within the organization. This is our org culture. This is how we do business now. We no longer use left-handed smoke shifters. We use right-handed smoke shifters. And that is part of those right-handed smoke shifters are part of our organization's personality, our organization's culture. Right. The next slide. Recommendations. You need to provide recommendations for implementing Cotter's model and the potential consequences for not using a specific change model to make org changes. And the reason that's in there, right? You're the expert, and that's why your CEO is asking you to do this. So, but the problem with CEOs and other administrators, guys like me at my full-time job, right? We have a tendency to think we know everything and that everything else is just a suggestion, right? And sometimes some administrators think, oh, how dare that person provide this? You're being asked to provide this. But there will be perhaps someone who's not the CEO, but is an upper level administrator who is going to say, no, we shouldn't do this. So if we don't do it, what are the potential consequences? So provide your recommendations. What are the consequences for not doing it? Remember, you're trying to provide clear guidance on how to navigate and implement major org changes effectively and efficiency. Then you need a concluding slide. Write a conclusion that synthesizes everything in the presentation, brings the presentation to a logical close. And your last slide is a reference slide, provides all of your scholarly academic sources that are used in the presentation. Resources. These links take you directly to our university's library. If you click it, it takes you to EBSCO host, and you can search for whatever you're looking for. ProQuest, regional news for EBSCO, Mergent Online provides 10Ks. What's a 10K? A 10K is an organization's annual report. You're going to need that. One of the deliverables require you to find the 10K for your organization. Because Mergent is not exactly user-friendly, this next link, instructions, how to find the 10K using Mergent. There's a guide for APA, some PowerPoint support. If you've never worked with PowerPoint before, there are umpteen YouTube videos that will help you to make your PowerPoint dance and really impressive if you go looking for them. And some general Rasmussen answers and facts, frequently asked questions. Okay, because those instructions are so detailed and we're running out of time, we're going to look very quickly at the rubric. This is the criteria that you're going to be graded on for this deliverable, right? You're going to be graded on slide count, creativity, your title slide, and your introductory content, organization, and a references slide. To achieve mastery, this first column, minimum of 13 slides. They demonstrate creativity and professionalism throughout the presentation with a clear title slide, a well-organized introductory content. It includes in-text citations as needed and concisely written speaker notes and a references slide. Okay. Criterion 2, same kind of thing. See these three words right here. Clearly and strongly. If you want to achieve mastery, clearly and strongly for each and every one of these. Familiarize yourself with each of these criteria, and I believe there's 9 for these. Nope, there's only 6. Okay, so for criterion 2, you're going to clearly and strongly explain step 1 and 2 of Cotter's model, right? So your slide can be very simple. Cotter step 1, Cotter step 2, and then in the speaker notes, tell the story. And as you go down the spectrum, you lose those clearly and strongly. For proficiency, you simply explained it. For competence, you provided a basic explanation. For no pass, you never want to go there, right? Those will show up as R's instead of F's when you get a grade. For each one of these, I'm going to give you feedback, detailed feedback that will help you to clearly and strongly explain. Criterion 3, clearly and strongly, steps 3 and 4. Criterion 4, steps 5 and 6. 5, steps 7 and 8. And then criterion 6, your recommendation and conclusion. You provided clear and thorough recommendations for implementing Cotter's model and the consequences for not using a specific change model to make major organizational change. We're pushing Cotter, but maybe the boss decides Cotter Schmotter, I'm going to simply use Lewin, a recipe for failure. Okay, so that's the rubric for that. And again, for every single one of these, it's over here. And again, if you click that, there's also some, I guess once you close it, there's some interesting information over here about the assignment. Ultimately, the due date is, it's actually 6/20 at 11:59. If you can see my screen, that's because I'm using the Eastern time zone. In yours, it should say 6/20 at 11:59. That's, you get 3 attempts for every one of these deliverables. So you turn it in, I grade it. You don't get the grade that you want. You want mastery. You want the 4, right, for the whole thing. So use the feedback, modify, resubmit. You can do that up to 3 times. And the best of those 3 grades is the one you're going to get. Let's say I've never seen this, but if your third submission of that deliverable is the worst one of all 3, you'll get whichever was the best grade. If you got the best grade on number 1, that's the grade that'll go in the book. Okay, so that said, I think that's all I wanted to cover tonight. So close that. And I'll take questions. If there are none, we're done for tonight. Remember the code word that was provided. Plug it in to that assignment and you're golden.
I just have one question.
Okay.
In deliverables that I've done before in PowerPoints, you did the title slide like you said to do, but before that you had a title slide that had like my name, the school, the date, the teacher's name, like APA format, like you're writing a paper, but you did it on the
Okay.
PowerPoint. Do we do that or no?
I'm not requiring that, but you can do that if you want. That way, you don't run the risk. And I'm not going to do that with a PowerPoint. You're never going. But there are people that'll go, well, this is your work and your name isn't even on it. So that's why they require that other slide. But
okay.
I'm not going to require that. If you want to do it, that's fine. That'll just mean your name's on your work.
Okay. I just want to make sure because with the APA that usually goes with it, and
yeah,
I just didn't want to lose points for something so simple.
oh yeah, understood.
Okay, that was my only one.
All right. Have a good night. We're done for
You
tonight.
too. Thank
See ya.
you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.